It is Super Tuesday. That means it's time for a super review. I am John Pollock, joined by Wai Ting, but not just Wai Ting, because on tonight's show, limited commercial interruption. We might have an overrun, but we are bringing in the backup utilities. We've got Braden Herrington and Davie Portman representing Poisonrana, representing the Calgary Hitman, and representing Shane McMahon. Hello, boys.
We thought we would wear stuff of wrestlers who might show up on NXT tonight.
I was sure, like, bring out the big guns, Shane O'Mac.
Where was Brett?
And the Hitman.
Yeah.
Like, no, where were they?
Yeah.
But it is Tuesday, and how do we start our Tuesdays, people?
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Wow. We're your NXT friends.
Friends.
And look, Tuesdays is our night. All right? This is our night to watch NXT. Get out of here with the Wednesday night title Tuesday, Titty Tuesday. None of that. Stop that.
Maybe a little later on, we're going to be breaking up our reviews. So maybe when Wai and I are going through Dynamite, we can get a silent film from you two.
We could definitely provide our best.
That was the highlight of the night, because we watch, I don't know about your sponsors, guys, but we watch through the Fight feed.
Fight app.
And therefore, we're sometimes not sure, especially when you're watching one on semi-mute and the other one on loud, what is actually in picture. So when Cena is coming out and we just see timeless Tony Storm dancing in a silent movie, you go, the war is won, guys. Cena, go to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, it's over.
Go back to whatever you were doing, because Tony time is here.
Tony time.
Wow. This is one of the first times ever. I mean, we're millennials. We're too young to know what it was like trying to change the channels of Nitro and Raw. So welcome to the new age of two screens while you try to watch two different wrestling shows.
I don't know. I grew up with a VCR in my household, and we just record shit and watch at separate times.
We never watched two shows.
I don't know. Apparently, that's alien in this part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
Well, we figured it would be easier on you, the viewers out there, to just do one review together rather than us go head to head with separate feeds, and you'd have to have your two screens out. So we're making an economical decision here to bring all of our reviews together. But before we start jumping into the reviews, I just want to throw it out to both of you. Between both shows, what was like the main attraction of the night beyond just the head-to-head battle? Like, what do you think was like the strongest element that either side had going for them on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I feel like the cheap heat is announcing John Cena and the Undertaker, kind of teasing that. Like, WWE going for just really big names, and they're just going to be on this show. Are these guys going to be wrestling? No, they won't be. But AEW, I'd say, had my interest of the actual wrestling for the night, being Swerve and Danielson. Like, as just a wrestling fan, that definitely had my actual interest tonight. But I think WWE cast the bigger net over having like all these other people that would draw more people to watch, I'd say. But I'd say for wrestling wise, AEW definitely had my interest.
For me, I feel NXT had my interest more just from the ridiculousness of it all, the kind of names they were bringing in. I think AEW, it's not uncommon for them to put big matches on their TV. And as much as I was looking forward to this card, I can't say there was anything that screamed out over previous like big editions of Dynamite over the time. Danielson Swerve definitely had my interest the most on that show. But yeah, I think for me, it was just, especially being your NXT guys, people we followed this show like right from the beginning, and just having this ridiculous night where they're throwing Undertaker, Asuka, Heyman, all that.
And Mania.
Yeah, I kind of was looking forward to the novelty of that.
Yeah, for me, I definitely felt like Taker was probably the biggest name of the evening.
Sure.
But beyond that, I mean, I think it was just more so the hysteria of seeing them continuing to add one thing after another, seeing Tony Khan go crazy last night on Twitter throughout the course of the day, just really taking this very personally and seriously, it seemed. I think it was just more so the fun overall atmosphere of it all.
Tony Khan woke up on his birthday today, his 41st birthday, and he said, "What kind of promoter am I going to be today? Am I going to be Dana White or am I going to be Scott Coker?" He chose Dana White today. That was his, and the more effective promoter of the two.
I was thinking you were going to say Herb Abrams, but okay.
He didn't go that quite. Yeah, not too.
Last thing, and then we will really get to the reviews. But I mean, it was just such a stacked lineup for NXT from Star Power. I mean, do you guys see like, what do you take from the numbers that come out tomorrow? And do you expect this to be close? Do you think that this is just going to be too much of your mainline Star Power for NXT, that this is going to be close? Like, what are some of your forecasts for what the numbers prove out tomorrow?
I really think NXT are going to just destroy them tomorrow, really. Obviously, the amount of people they put on, but just it's not AEW's normal night either. We've seen how much Becky has brought into NXT, but yeah, also it being a different night for AEW, I totally think NXT will just kill it.
Yeah, I'm not one of the psycho loyalists. I just love all professional wrestling equally, and I can hate on all equally as much, but I think them bringing in some of the names like had people's attention, and I think by the time we're finding out the ratings, I think NXT will definitely blow AEW out of the water there, but we'll see, I guess.
Your connection's not sounding great, guys. Like a little bit of maybe just modulation in your voices. So maybe just something to keep in mind just for the rest of the review. But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, yeah, I expected an NXT win, but I also expect things to be maybe a little bit closer than we're all predicting. I continue to think that there's a lot of power in AEW and having their audience follow them everywhere. And in terms of wrestling and belt to belt, I felt like NXT had the better show with more star power in the ring as well. So I think that'll account for a big difference as well. So, but we'll find out tomorrow.
Okay, so the way we're going to be doing this is that we're going to be going back and forth in 30-minute intervals from each show to kind of give you a sense of like what was competing with what on the show. So we're breaking it up into blocks essentially. So Wai and I are going to start off going through the 30-minute buy-in that was added on Monday night, and we go to the Cable Dahmer Arena in Independence, Missouri, and there are Renee Paquette and RJ City welcoming us to, quote, the biggest Dynamite in AEW history. Way.
Kind of felt like it at times tonight, didn't it? I mean, I don't really think it was, but they certainly wanted you to think that way. Yeah.
This might have been the first wrestling show I can recall that actively promoted, don't forget the overrun. We've got an overrun tonight. I mean, they were not even like, it wasn't going to be anything like, we know we're not going to be done on time. So get ready. Make sure you have your DVR set. And Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki is the lone match that was featured on the buy-in, with Eddie Kingston defending the ROH and New Japan Strong Championships. And I was watching this on YouTube, and the match started with just under 40,000 watching live on YouTube and got up to just over 50,000 by the end of it. So if you were curious about like the live viewership on YouTube, how that is tabulated, those were the numbers on YouTube. But
it was also on X and Facebook as well.
Yeah, this is just the YouTube numbers that were out there. They were on multiple social channels, but they trade blows, and there was this cool spot where Kingston takes a flash knockout after a forearm and is like stiffened on the mat as he goes down. He can barely stand. You've got Jarrett, Lethal, Dutton, Singh all watching in the back as they are having Lethal, his quest to go for this ROH championship again. Kingston gives him the middle finger, so Suzuki bends the finger, and then he's threatening Rick Knox. I mean, Suzuki was fantastic in this match with his facial reactions, eating the chops, and Kingston just trying to bring this war to Grandpa Suzuki. The Gotch pile driver is stopped with a back body drop, lands the Hurricane, but the hand has been hurt, manages a second one, and Suzuki kicks out at one, and this place pops as he gets up, and it's an Enziguri and Northern Lights bomb by Eddie Kingston, going against the advice of Kawada. He's winning with the Northern Lights bomb, and he pins him in 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Crowds chanting for Suzuki after, and much like we just saw with Shibata at Wrestle Dream, it was Kingston giving up the ring to Suzuki, who really had no time for this adulation. He just wanted to get out of there. He's like, yeah, I did my match. I'm ready to go. And before they leave the ring, though, the two go eye to eye. Suzuki chops him, Kingston chops him, and they embrace in a hug, which is something that I think me and Braden are going to start to do whenever we say goodbye in person next time. And then Kingston comes over, grabs the headset, tells everyone, don't be idiots, watch Dynamite tonight. And then while he's all sweaty, he hugs Taz, which was just gross. And then he gave the middle finger to RJ City, and that was a wrap for Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. A solid night at work, I would say, for the both of them. I thought this was a perfectly fine YouTube / kickoff bout. It was, I think, above average, in terms of what you would typically get maybe in a buy-in. It was not like the exhaustive affair that I think you might have otherwise expected between these two, maybe on a pay-per-view or something, but it delivered the type of action I think you would expect of the pairing to a satisfying degree. But not completely draining this crowd ahead of the actual show to come. So I thought it was a perfectly fine appetizer. I was a little surprised at how much of the no selling of the repeated hurricanes that there were, considering it's been traditionally a bit of a protected move for Eddie Kingston. But he is really transitioning over to the Northern Lights bomb and the power bomb as his finishers anyway. So
and he was working on the hand during the match as well. So you had that element to it. I mean, to me, it was a 2023 Minoru Suzuki match that it's as much about the experience of sitting there to watch a Suzuki match that he knows what is going to get the most reaction by doing, I won't say the least, but I mean, he knows his act down pat for an audience like this, and it's effective for where he is. And then the show or the buy-in ends with Tony Khan backstage with Tony Schiavone stating that Jon Moxley is not cleared and therefore Rey Fenix will still defend the title. And before he can even state who, Hook walks in and says it's got to be Orange Cassidy. And Tony Khan agrees. And Orange Cassidy pretty much shrugs his shoulders. He's going to take the title match. And that is how the buy-in ends. So no Jon Moxley. So that is he was off the Revolver show. And obviously that was not just a precautionary measure, but was not cleared Sunday and was not cleared tonight.
Yeah, I guess it explains to you maybe how close, to the show they really have to wait for something like this. And unfortunate, of course, you continue to hope that, Jon Moxley is healthy. But as a pivot, I mean, this was probably always a great backup plan to go to Orange Cassidy. And we'll talk about the result of a bit later, of course.
But now we flip on over to the USA Network, where NXT was going live from the historic Performance Center. And tell us, Davie, Braden, how did NXT kick off?
Yes. NXT October 10th, live from the Capitol Wrestling Center. And we opened with Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, coming out.
Something, Cody Rhodes. The crowd were really in a singing mood.
Crowd were into it tonight.
Yeah.
And as we're seeing on the dual screen, Cody versus Christian. As Christian, I believe, is on AEW.
Yeah, they really missed the opportunity for Christian to basically cut a promo. Hey, if you turn the other channel, maybe you would hear them. He would make a joke about, dads.
Yeah. Vic Joseph is saying that we never expected to see Cody Rhodes in the Performance Center. There's huge Cody chants and also yeet chants. Cody says, I'd be lying if I ever told you I'd be standing in this particular ring. But now that I am, something feels right. It's the roads. It's Florida. We spilt blood all over this stage. And I have a huge announcement. And he goes on to say that we're in the midst of the women's breakout tournament. And following that, we will be seeing the men's breakout tournament. But said, I keep hearing that when people heard I'd be here, that maybe I'd be announcing something about a certain tag team tournament. And there are big chants of Dusty. And he says, well, that's good because it's coming back. But there's one more announcement. And he says that tonight is the biggest night in NXT history. And Shawn Michaels has made it so that he is the special guest general manager of NXT.
Wow. Is that because they just announced for NXT, but then they're like, oh wait, everyone thinks we're bringing back the Dusty. Okay, maybe we should just say that we're bringing back the Dusty because he announces a different tournament.
It's the huge announcement.
Way too many tournaments.
We're also doing a men's.
Also, next week is a tag team Bada Boom tournament.
Hey, we'll get there.
But wait, what? How many tournaments?
Yeah, there was part of me was wondering if he was going to announce him and Jay in it, or the winner of the tournament faces him and Jay. But it was. You're right. It was dressing up everything. It was the Dusty Classic tournament. But then Ilya Dragunov comes out, and there are chants of happy birthday to the Mad Dragon. And Ilya welcomes Cody to NXT. He says, your words bring life into NXT, but I wanted to meet you in person. And says, Cody, you have the passion and energy and the will for the whole WWE universe to make this place a better place. And he says, you fight with a fire and fight to bring things to the next level. And this is something I promise to do with the same fire that only the Mad Dragon can do. When he's interrupted by Dominic Mysterio.
Wow, the big guns coming out.
Yeah. The NXT North American champion coming out with Rhea Ripley. And he says to Ilya, if you're half the man you say you are, why don't you put your NXT championship on the line tonight? And Cody sort of says, wait, I'm hearing that you won't put the North American championship on the line. And Rhea says, Dom has been putting the whole of WWE on his back for the last year. Ilya says that he's going to smash her boy tonight.
He did say that.
He's like, I'm going to smash your boy tonight.
Yep.
So make it official. Cody makes it official. But also says, I know what you Judgment Day are like. So the special guest referee will be LA Knight. So
I know what you Judgment Day people are like. So LA Knight's going to be the ref.
Yeah, it just happens to be here. Happens to be there.
Silly glasses.
So yeah, Cody doesn't put the North American Championship on the line as well. Which
kind of a heel move.
Kind of weak. But yeah, so Dom versus Ilya for the NXT Championship later tonight with LA Knight special guest referee.
Yeah.
So as you said, get all the big guns out first.
Yeah, definitely announcing like having LA Knight here is they're just stacking the show for random reasons. Outside of it, if you were just in the NXT WWE bubble, you'd be going like, what's going on tonight? Why is this the biggest NXT randomly like in October?
You just went to your regular. Yeah. It's like, oh, I go to this wrestling show at the university every there anymore.
Yeah,
every Tuesday. And
it's like, hey, what's going on this week? Why is this so big? I don't know. It's sweeps week. It's ratings week. It's just kind of bizarre if you look at it that way.
So the first half hour was commercial free. We then see John Cena arriving.
Yeah, John Cena. I don't know if John Cena watches NXT. He showed up in the parking lot alone. Very dangerous.
Yeah.
He should not have done that.
Mello warned him as well.
He tweeted him, don't do that. And what did this guy do? He walked out by himself. So he truly is Superman.
We cut to Booker T, who's on commentary just cracking up. And Vic's like, what? He's like, no, nothing. He's just laughing. I think he's giddy just from how ridiculous this night is. But we start the night with Roxanne Perez versus Asuka. And then Shotzi comes out.
Just comes out in a tank.
She's got her new spiky hair. I haven't actually seen this yet.
Yeah, very spooky. She looks like the one toy from Toy Story, or like Sid from Toy Story.
Sid from Toy, or the baby.
Yeah, with the claws. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So she joins commentary as Danielson and Swerve are on the other channel.
Right.
And she announces that she will be hosting night 1 of Halloween Havoc with Scarlett Boudreaux. Or just Scarlett, I think, in WWE.
She used that? Yeah.
And Roxanne is actually taking it to Asuka. She's got most of the offense to start with. She hits her suicide dive to the outside. She's on top for quite a while. And then Asuka counters Roxanne and gets in, I guess, the Asuka lock, like the reverse chokehold. Roxy counters that into a pin attempt. And then Asuka kicks out of it and hits her like combo of spinning back fists and then a spin kick to the head to pick up the win. And Asuka goes over Roxy in the opening match.
Yeah, I mean, Roxy has been a champion here. She is a young prospect for NXT, so it is kind of a dream match. But I didn't think it got a lot of time, and it kind of just seemed like Asuka just washed her, just beat her, and just kind of squashing her there. It was really bizarre.
It was weird. I think you got way more out of like the Roxanne Meiko Satomura match, or like the Cora Jade Natalia match we got. It did feel a bit pushed for time, and it was kind of just Roxanne had the whole first half of the match.
Like, in the head.
You need to highlight this girl, and then she gets kicked in the head. So it didn't quite do it for me. I would have put a bit more back and forth, and I don't know how much it would have done to an audience maybe seeing the show for the first time with Roxanne, who I do think is fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the best highlight of.
I think these two, they've got a way better match.
100%
between the two of
them. And then after the match, Kiana James runs out, kind of attacks Roxanne Perez when Shotzi jumps her, and then they pose with Roxanne. And and that's the end of the first 30.
Yeah, it kind of does end with Paul Heyman showing up, basically saying, "What door? I've never been here before. This is NXT. I don't deal with this kind of stuff," and goes through. Which I do love the subtlety of Paul Heyman and his advancements through the years of technology and cell phones. Because like he still is just talking on the cell phone all the time when he used to do that with the big brick phone. So I do like that. But yeah, that was pretty much our first half hour of NXT, and it was interesting, kind of going back and forth. Where AEW kind of kicked off with their big match of Danielson and Swerve, so it was kind of easy to watch promos while the match going on back and forth. But it was not easy. It was not easy at all. What did you guys think
of NXT?
Watch that's the whole time. I didn't see it. Okay, I think Davie and Braden, I think we're going to try and reconnect because it's just getting like choppier again. So let's try and leave the room, come back in, and if we have to, we might just kill the video because it's just a little choppy for people to be hearing. So we will smooth these waters out while Wai and I go through the next half hour.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Braden and Davie. Okay. So let's get into it. Wai, what did you feel about, as someone that watches AEW Dynamite every week on Fight, what did it feel like to watch the first half hour commercial free?
I mean, there is a difference, because the course of action is very different when they do go to commercial break. Typically, they definitely slow the pace down, and it's stuff you don't really need to see in the match itself. But yeah, I kind of it was a livelier atmosphere for sure.
Well, the show began with Christian Cage in the production truck, noting he is the biggest star in the company, and there are implications for his title tonight. So the first face on TBS is a representative of TNT. So that was our all right. I guess they weren't going to have Chris Statlander open the show.
Well, this might change.
I guess so. So says that tonight Danielson takes on Swerve. The winner will face him this Saturday on Collision, and he doesn't care who it is. He blames Swerve for their team losing it All In, and a little birdie told him that Bryan Danielson still fancies himself the best wrestler in the world and says he is the champion of Warner Brothers Discovery, and therefore he has secured the first 30 minutes of the show commercial free. The man has paid for this time. And then he instructs, one of you assholes start the show. And one of the assholes started the show.
He was, I suppose a bit of an interesting choice, putting him on screen as your very first thing, but I think he has, very close ramifications to the main event of the evening with Adam Copeland's debut. And the idea that he would somehow be responsible for all this is pretty laughable, but sure, why not?
He ended up being, like, you could argue, like, the biggest, like, figure on this show. Like, yes, you had Adam Copeland's debut, but so much of this show was built around Christian Cage. Like, he is, now that it's the full turn with MJF, like, Christian is your top heel in this company at the moment.
Definitely.
Danielson and Swerve Strickland starts us off. So commercial free, you get this entire match, and they went 16 minutes, and it starts off a lot of grappling. They had a Greco-Roman knuckle lock with Danielson going for the monkey flip, but loses the grip. And then there's a backbreaker, and Swerve would beat on Bryan Danielson's back throughout this match. There's a 450 splash, and he lands on the knees of Danielson. This is when they plugged the TNT title match for Saturday. And like last week, it will be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time again. So without a premium live event, they are going back to 7 again. And we did see the numbers from this past Saturday, but it'll be interesting to see what they do in a different time slot without a WWE event this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
And whether this is going to be a permanent thing, like they did not move that show last weekend because of sports. Like it was like, it's just movies on Saturday night. So I don't know what the reasoning is for this Saturday, because it kind of made sense for this past weekend.
I wonder if it's an experiment, and I wonder if it's a permanent change that they're considering, because, what's the point of asking your audience to jump once a month, or sometimes even twice a month, when you should just, go from 7 to 9 forever?
Danielson is hung up upside down the turnbuckle and is hit with the Swerve stomp but Danielson manages to come back moments later with a half crab, then a kick to the head, but Swerve gets to his feet. So it's Danielson with more stomps on top, goes for the label lock and into the Fujiwara as Swerve makes his way to the rope. And Danielson is delivering like the running drop kicks in the corner, and he runs into the turnbuckle opposite Swerve, and then he just goes down and he's like holding himself. And at first you thought like he's selling the arm, but then the announcers are stating it was a liver shot that
he got dropped on the apron with a sidewalk slam by Swerve.
So that was, like working over the back and as
Yeah.
well with the liver. So this is something like we have seen in many fights where a liver shot, what's cool about it is you can nail a guy in the liver and it can be a delayed response where like 15 seconds later, the guy goes down. Like that has happened in fights before where you have a delayed response to a liver shot. But this sets up another Swerve stomp and a huge near fall. It seemed like everyone thought this was going to be the finish. And Swerve gets the crown from Prince Nana when Hangman appears ringside, yanks it away. It leads to a roll up for a 2 count. And then Danielson lands the Busaiku knee and pins Swerve in 16 minutes and 7 seconds, setting up Danielson challenging Christian on Saturday.
A really strong match, I thought. Without any commercials, it definitely felt pay-per-view quality to me. Great pacing with the opening display of both men's technical abilities. I think technical wrestling is probably like the most understated part of Swerve's game. He is so well-rounded that we often forget, how great of a, mat technician he can be. I thought he was excellent in the opening here, and both of them, again, just really shined, I think, throughout the match in various areas. I thought Brian's rib injury was brilliantly used. I loved how it interrupted his running drop kicks. It's a spot we've seen a million times, and suddenly when there's an interruption, we really pay attention, and I thought it was really well used. Great near falls in the end. I had been concerned that neither of them could have afforded a loss here, but I think the way they did it and having Hangman be the cause of Swerve's loss, it reheats that rivalry really well and gives Swerve a big program to follow coming out of this. So my other question is, do we get a title change with Brian versus Christian and having the TNT championship on TNT as a draw on Saturdays?
Yeah, I mean, would Bryan Danielson be comfortable running a network? And maybe he would just give away the commercial inventory to like a nonprofit.
He could do that, yes.
Imagine him and Mr. Zaslav together going over the future of TNT, the carriage battles, what Danielson's thoughts are about going direct to consumer, all these things. Another great Samoa Joe promo. They must have just shot a bulk amount of these. He's got his scotch and cigar. Hello, I am Samoa Joe. And his road back to the championship begins this Saturday, where he's going to murder some guy on Saturday night and begin his ascension towards greatness. I would say this promo, he is well on his way there. And then wrapping up the first half hour, Chris Jericho and Powerhouse Hobbs. And they mentioned that Kenny Omega has not been cleared to travel after the chair shot, and the Young Bucks are with him. So there is no backup here for Chris Jericho. And man, Hobbs comes out, his right shoulder, it's gigantic, and the whole thing is taped. It looked just huge, this taped up shoulder of the man. And this was a one-sided destruction by Hobbs, save for a hope spot near the end. But it's Hobbs hitting one spine buster after the other. And they got this great near fall off one of the spine busters 2 minutes into the match. And you almost thought they were going to do just a flash pin that early, but it continued. And Jericho kept taking more. And then you've got Don Callis calling for the liver, which they had just explained. This just happened in the last match. So all told, Jericho took, I think it was 7 spine busters, and he gets a code breaker in. He tries to fight back, chop blocks the knee, and goes for the walls, but Hobbs breaks out of the walls and hits a series of world's strongest slams when Aubrey Edwards waves off the match. So we get a stoppage victory. Powerhouse Hobbs.
It was a pinfall.
TKO.
It was a pinfall. He had his knee on Jericho's head, actually, and covered him that way.
Oh, I thought she just waved it off. Okay.
It was a very sort of like lackadaisical cover on top of it as well.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw the arms waving, but 7 minutes, 23 seconds. Hobbs wins. Like, this was one of my criticisms of AEW, and we saw it on this show, is like when they beat someone, man, they've really got to convolute some of the endings with this idea of just protecting everyone. And this was the furthest thing from that. This was Hobbs destroying this guy and getting a big shocking win against a star and telling your audience like this is a serious guy that we are getting behind, and this is, you know, a big elevation for Powerhouse Hobbs. So I thought that this was used very, very effectively. And you know, Jericho just like he gave like 90% of this match to Hobbs.
Certainly, and this wasn't like the type of action Andretti when where like it was a bit of a fluky sort of finish. Like it was not 1-2-3 Kid Razor Ramon where like, you know, Razor just gets up right away. Like what happened? This was a destruction, and I thought it was an incredibly effective use of Hobbs's first match after joining the Callis family. Big upset, I would say, considering their ranks, and I think it's a great way to tell the audience that hey, you should be paying attention to Powerhouse Hobbs now. This is not like some cute TV, you know, cute little thing. Like we're going to be serious with him, and putting him over Chris Jericho in this fashion, I think is a big statement. I mean, Jericho really does not lose a thing from something like this. Again, he lost to Action Andretti, even in a squash fashion. Like in a few months' time, he's still Chris Jericho, right? You know, he doesn't do this often enough, though, so it still feels impactful when it does happen. But yeah, I think a great way to further this Callis family program with a big new player attached.
Yeah, and this would have cut Hobbs off at the knees, if especially if he's losing. But I would even argue, even going half and half here, like this was, you know, a dominant, strong start for this Hobbs push aligned with Don Callis. But we pick up the imaginary remote, and now we are flipping it back on to NXT. Unmute.
You guys might be muted.
You guys are coming in clear. We just need to hear you.
Okay.
Hello.
There we go.
Man,
Wow.
All those transmission issues on TBS last week.
Our connection is about as bad as our actual NXT connection this week, but
All the internet we used.
Yeah.
Watching today.
Hopefully you can hear us this time. But yes, as Jericho and Hobbs were making their entrance, we see Paul Heyman arrive at the PC, and he angrily says to someone, "Do you want to tell me what door to go in?" As he's clearly never been to the Capitol Wrestling Center before. We see Gallus pumping themselves up for their big pub fight, and we go to Butch, who is talking to Tyler Bate and says, "I need the Tyler Bate I brawled all over Europe with. The same I went to a war in Chicago." And then Ridge comes out and says it's fight night and that they're going to have banger after banger after banger. So we go to the match. It's Tyler Bate, Butch, and Ridge Holland against Gallus in a pub fight rules match. And it was pretty funny. Bate was playing the role of Sheamus here, taking the middle spot in the entrance.
Or was it Ridge, the Fridge, taking the spot of Trent Seven in British Strong Style? It kind of felt like there was a crossover of teams here.
Maybe.
Yeah, with the pub rules.
Gallus jumped them during the entrance. They're wearing these 3 white T-shirts. We love our unofficial NXT T-shirts, but these weren't quite the ones.
Yeah, Gallus boys on top.
Yeah. We see Butch, while Hobbs is just beating the shit out of Jericho, Butch gets a dart and darts one of the Coffee Brothers' fingers.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. When they announced a pub rules match for this episode, I was already getting ready to critique it, being like, if there's no, someone glassing someone or darts being used, this isn't a true, because, not being over there once or twice, yeah. I've seen how pub fights can actually go down, and glasses and darts are, in fact, used in pub fights. So I'm happy they used this in this match.
Ridge sprays a fire extinguisher at Mark and then puts him in the trash can. And then Gallus kind of shield bomb Butch through a table. Ridge and Bate are now just teaming up as all of them do their 10 beats of the Bowen kind of all around the arena. There's a triple bop and bang from the British Brawling Brutes. And then a German from Butch for a 2. Meanwhile, we're seeing Roderick Strong appear on the other screen as Wolfgang goes to hit this Con Hilo on the outside and just misses everyone.
Didn't Wolfie.
No water in the pool there. Mark Coffey is then applying this kind of standing version of the Boston Crab as Ridge comes in with a snooker cue, and now all the Brutes lock Gallus in submissions. Gallus come back and go for a pin on Butch, but Tyler Bate breaks it up with the spiral tap. And then Wolfgang hits his big Uranagi. Ridge dumps them both out the ring. And then Joe brings in a beer glass and he's going to glass one of them. But Bate takes it off of him, glasses Joe, and then Butch breaks his fingers. And the three of them hit. We saw Bate and Butch last week go for their kind of double Tyler driver. But this time it was the double underhook into the big power bomb from Ridge through a table to finish the match with your baby faces going on top here.
So the Brits are better at drinking than the Scots, is what I learned watching this match here. It was pretty fun. I liked when all three of them were using their like in stereo moves, like the bop and bangs and the 10 beats and stuff. It was pretty fun. And like I said, I even got Glassy Bruv live in a wrestling match. So it was all right. Yeah,
I've been enjoying the kind of tandem work that Bate and Butch have been doing. Gallus don't 100% hit it for me. The gimmickry around this was pretty fun, but yeah, it was. We've seen better NXT matches.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we do with Gallus because like we have three Scotsmans here who are just ready to go to the main roster and fight with all these guys every week. So maybe they've run their course in NXT, I think.
So after this, we see a video hyping up Becky and Lyra, which has been announced for Halloween Havoc. It's showing that they're both from Dublin. It even shows footage from 2018 when Becky Lynch took a trip to Fight Factory where Lyra Valkyria was training. And
pretty cool footage of actual footage from like 2018, I believe, where it is Becky like teaching and talking to a young class of wrestlers. And yeah, Lyra is right there. So it is cool that they have this footage.
So it's showing that they've got this this previous history and that we're going to have the first kind of double Dublin women's main event coming up at Halloween Havoc. Lyra is then being interviewed when she's interrupted by Tegan Knox after her match with Becky last night on Raw. And Tegan says, Lyra, your performance last week was incredible. And but tells her that she's going to have to wait for her title match because she was so close last night and she deserves another chance. And Lyra basically says, no, you couldn't get the job done last night, so I'm having my match. Thank you very much. And I won't let anyone get in the way.
So go dye your hair or something.
Yeah, so I wonder if we're teasing maybe a bit of a heel Tegan Knox moving forwards and possibly costing Lyra.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, maybe we're getting 2 weeks of title defenses from the women's champion because we might be getting two the other way around too. But yeah, I think that makes Tegan a bit more interesting. I mean, she hasn't really been on NXT to be fair, or I know she's just coming back, but yeah, I think it would be a little bit more interesting.
And this is the moment we see John Cena making his way to the ring as Tony Storm is dancing in black and white on AEW.
This was peak wrestling viewing here. I don't think this will ever be matched where John Cena is in NXT. Wow. As Tony Storm is just in black and white dancing. It was really a thing of beauty. Like just what is going on?
Two just Hollywood stars now, right?
Two huge.
Both timeless.
Well, one's faded and one's, a mermaid in Barbie.
Yeah, exactly. As we shoot back over to John and Wai.
Well, we're not just going back to John and Wai. We are off to Roderick Strong's humble abode, as it is listed from earlier today, which looked shockingly like this was all bulk shot as well. As Adam Cole still needs surgery. And for the last week, we are led to believe he has been doing household errands for Roderick Strong at his house that has no cell reception and has no television sets inside either. So he cannot keep up tabs on Dynamite, which is, if this could have been a Nielsen home, this could have been very detrimental in terms of their number tomorrow. But Strong wants him to cut the grass. And boy, they were just after my heart here with this segment to win me back. So he cuts grass on his scooter. And then he needs a new shirt because his shirt's all sweaty. So they put him in a Neck Strong shirt. Matt Taven then puts over the neck toughness of the giraffe, the strongest animal in the kingdom. And Cole has to go for surgery. I love that there's a surgeon that's just on call, ready. Like whenever you show up, we'll get the knife out. We're ready to go. We've got our anesthesia. Just whenever you can show up. It's like that is not how healthcare works. It does not apply to U.S. healthcare. Number one.
I wouldn't know. I mean, in Canadian healthcare, you definitely have to wait, but maybe things are different in the US if you're paying.
So Strong ends it by stating, I need you to do one more thing. And Adam Cole can't say no to this guy. So this is putting off his first of 2 surgeries.
That's right. Yeah. Set up a scene later on with MJF trying to reach Adam Cole. Beyond that, listen, it's a way to keep Adam Cole on TV, at least for these 2 weeks. Chances are they might have filmed even more of these, just as a way.
Maybe they filmed 9 months worth of this.
It's very possible, however long he's going to be out, right? I continue to not really mind them at all, but a lot of people agreed with you that these are not great. So maybe they choose to end them a bit earlier or shoot new ones, who knows? But I recognize that they're in a bit of a bind where they don't really have much else to do with Cole. So
well, he's this was his 2-minute representation because apparently he needs to be on the show in this capacity at Roderick Strong's home, his humble abode. Rey Fenix, Orange Cassidy for the International Championship, and the story is that Fenix is all wrecked, but he's cleared. His opponent is not. Between like storylines and real injuries, there's like a dozen guys that are not cleared in this company that we have going on at the moment. So Phoenix's back is run into the post on the floor, and Phoenix, whenever he goes to lift Cassidy, his back gives out. There was this unbelievable satellite DDT from Orange Cassidy that he hit that looked amazing. The orange punch gets stopped by a super kick, but then Rey Fenix goes to the rolling cutter, and his back gives out. Can't do the rolling cutter, and eats a beach break, kicks out at 2, and then lands the orange punch and uses the mousetrap and pins Rey Fenix in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. And that match time, it would indicate to me that Rey Fenix is probably dealing with quite a lot, because this might have been the shortest singles match I can recall Phoenix has ever had on a Dynamite, at least. We won't count like Dark and stuff, but Orange Cassidy wins the belt back, and it seems like, okay, it just kind of feels like we did the record-setting reign with Orange Cassidy. It'd be like Gunther losing the Intercontinental title and winning it back in a month.
Well, again, this was certainly not their plan.
Probably
not even for tonight. I mean, Mox was supposed to be in this match, and I guess very likely Mox was going to win it back. What I did find interesting, though, was when Cassidy won it, he kind of like started looking at the championship in a bit of an odd way. Like, Orange Cassidy is not
the same reaction as I did.
He's not one to celebrate, in big fashion, but like this felt a lot more maybe serious, maybe even a bit more nefarious than previous. So it was definitely giving you the indication that it was a bit out of character of a reaction for Orange Cassidy. So we'll see how what that turns out to be. I'm hoping
Lazy Orange Cassidy that will only defend once every 30 days.
He's
done with the Iron Man routine.
That could be it. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine right now a heel Orange Cassidy, but they might be building their way towards it, and it would certainly be a way of refreshing, this international title run on a second time around. Because he's achieved everything he could just by being a great babyface champion. Him possibly being a heel champion would definitely be a different wrinkle. I also wonder if there's, logic would tell you that there'd be a Mox rematch, but does Mox just win it back from Cassidy? Or do they just, scrap the Mox run at this point and let Cassidy do his thing with whatever he's planning, this time around? So it's an interesting pivot. Again, one that I'm sure they weren't intending on, but as a backup, sometimes interesting results may come of it as well.
So what you are forecasting is the orange peel turn.
Sure.
We go to Tony Storm's close-up, shot in black and white with RJ City, and she says there hasn't been enough cinema tonight because the Cole Strong segment did not classify as cinema.
No.
So she made a short film, a silent film, The Lover's Lament. And this sets up our first commercial. This is like 46 minutes or so into the show. It's our first picture-in-picture. And I would not have been changing the channel for a second here, because this watching Tony Storm do this segment, they did 2 of these, and it's her in her studio just performing. That's as best as I can describe it. And I thought she was fantastic here.
I'm so impressed that like the amount of creativity they continue to use for this Toni Storm character by letting her throw a commercial break. Now she's dominating the commercial breaks, giving us something completely unique for this picture-in-picture. This was like one instance where I think picture-in-picture would have been a better experience than watching this on Fight. Now they do have like sort of silent movie music running underneath it on Fight, which is exactly, which was a lot of fun. But just having a Toni Storm in black and white dance on the corner of your screen as you're watching like a Domino's commercial, I'm sure would have been quite the hook as well.
Is this what are you two going as Toni Storm and RJ City? Is that your Halloween costume that you're keeping secret?
We would have, but the character didn't kick off until like a few weeks ago. Yeah. So we already got our costumes.
But both are clean shaven as well, and I'm growing this thing out.
Yeah, we do.
Well, the good thing is she's timeless, so you can do it next year.
That's true.
Yeah. Who would be who?
I see.
I guess I'll have to be Tony. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one of you would be the better RJ.
We do have wrestling costumes prepared, and we usually hit it at the park. And I think we'll toot our own horn and say they might be better than a Toni Storm outfit costume. Oh, I don't know how.
Setting the.
I know. I feel a lot of people would prefer a Toni Storm.
What, me in a Toni Storm outfit? God, yeah, no. Absolutely.
To follow that, we had Wardlow and Matt Sydal. He just murdered this guy with 4 power bombs. This was a stoppage finish in 48 seconds. And so here I thought we got 2 stoppage finishes on the show. I was like, that's so brilliant. Like you're long-term building up these 2 monsters to have some showdown down. And I misinterpreted the finish. So maybe they're not building towards that. But anyway, the stoppage win for Wardlow.
Yeah. And he just leaves. He's doing the thing where he's just kind of keeping it short and sweet, although I would maybe argue that I don't know how sweet these necessarily are. It's not like they're that novel at this point. And I would say maybe the short screen time or like maybe the beatdowns aren't really impactful enough these days to make me remember. Like by the end of these shows, I don't remember Wardlow being a part of them at all.
Well, I mean, he does have other things on his mind. His manager, Arn Anderson, has gone missing since his return, and he's still searching for him. And then the last thing before we flip it back was Renee trying to get an update on Chris Jericho, who has lost his voice because he just sat there, didn't make a sound. And Daniel Garcia is concerned, and Matt Menard comes in. What are you doing? And said that we're better than this. Don't worry about this guy. And Garcia's just, I'm trying to be a human being. We're all trying, and that's how we send things over to NXT. Concerned Daniel Garcia.
Well, whilst Toni Storm was dancing, this new fresh prospect on NXT, Mr. John Cena comes out. The crowd are going crazy. He says, wow, it's great to be here. And that reaction, that might be the most street cred I've ever had.
They were singing like the whole word for word. The whole song, and very, very loud.
He says, this place is crazy. We just turned it into a pub. Now, where is my pint? And he says, we do magic here every Tuesday night. And I knew that, but nothing is like being here in this room in person, and it's been long overdue. There are thank you Cena chants. Cena talks about gratitude, and he thanks the NXT universe for making it a place that all of these stars wanted to come back down and visit. He says, yes, we are SmackDown, we are Raw, but yes, we are NXT. When Bron Breakker comes out, who this was the revival of the Bron Breakker sucks chants, which we haven't heard for a while.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense and is fitting with Cena being here.
Yeah, so towards the end of his babyface run, people were starting to chant this
at Bron,
and Cena says, "Oh, I've been to this karaoke bar before, but it's so much cooler when the lyrics are changed."
What do you think Cena sings at karaoke? He looks like
he likes a private room karaoke.
Private room. He's singing Frank D.
He's saying something Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he'd be good.
So Bron says these people didn't come here to see you. They came to see me. And Cena says, look, we all know this business is in your blood and you're athletically gifted, but says the problem is your attitude. And look, I didn't come out here to run you down tonight, but now you're here, I'm feeling like doing it. And he says, you know what, Bron, I'm excited for your match tonight, and I respectfully wish you good luck. But then Bron doesn't take the handshake, instead punches Cena, sets up for the spear, but Cena dodges, goes for the AA, but Bron slips out of the ring.
Yeah.
So
a good little tease for later on, but pretty cool seeing Cena and Braun. I mean, Braun has been the like main guy in NXT for the past while. He's someone who could have been put on the main roster 6 months ago. And this is the first time Braun is interacting with such a like high caliber star within WWE. It had my attention.
I think he looks ready.
Easily.
I think
I want
since
this match.
being this heel, like he's completely owning it, and I think he completely held his own against Cena.
I think that since they announced last week that Cena was going to be in the corner of Melo, I thought that we would get some sort of interaction between Cena and Braun, because that would make a pretty sweet and interesting matchup, whether you put that on NXT Deadline or a WWE pay-per-view, because that sounds good.
Maybe this is the start of the call-up.
Braun going up. This would be a cool way to bring him up for sure.
We see Tony D'Angelo and Stax, who approach Cody Rhodes backstage with a problem.
Is Cody Italian?
No, I
don't think so.
He's Cuban?
Right.
Yeah. And they say, look, we have this problem. We heard you're the commish tonight, and there's a bunch of people who want to fight us. We fought a bunch of people. And Tony says, so how about we get that bunch of people, they fight, and then they keep fighting until there's two teams, and then they fight, and bada bing, bada boom, you know what you get? You get a challenger. And Cody says, look, I am from Georgia, and I don't understand what you just said there. So Stax translates, look, how about we have a tag team battle royal, and none of this, both members have to be eliminated. One person gets eliminated, they're out, and then the final teams, they face in a traditional tag match, and the winner of that can face us at Halloween Havoc. And Cody says, yeah, my dad used to make crazy stipulation matches like that back in his day. I like it. So how about we do that? And how about we call it the Bada Boom, Bada Bing Battle Royal?
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was something that came out of his mouth. And that's what's happening next week. So we got a bunch of these tag teams from NXT that are all going to be fighting in this thing. And then down the road, we'll have the Dusty Classic tournament, I'm sure. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just announced a tournament, but yeah, let's create number one contenders next week.
Yeah, I was so like, wait, what? Head scratching, but okay. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. We then see Baron Corbin being interviewed. He's talking about Ilya Dragunov, saying that he's been ducking him, that he's the only person that put Ilya down. And I thought Ilya would be better than Melo, but everyone around here is the same. Everyone's soft. And as he's going off, LA Knight's music interrupts as he's making his way to the ring. As we cut to 9 p.m., as we're going to go for Dominic Mysterio versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT title. And John Wai, what was going on in AEW?
Well, as Dominic was sitting back, he was probably realizing I'm going head to head with the knife pervert, because it was Jay White and Hangman Page squaring off. And we go to picture in picture early on in the match. White's in control. Tony Schiavone calls Jay White a criminal for stealing the AEW championship from MJF. And throughout the match, it is Jay White destroying the knee of Hangman Page. And Page sold this really well, but he also has the Seth Rollins gene where, yes, my ACL may be torn, but someone's got to hit an Orihara moonsault to the floor, and it's going to be me. And constantly, he was not going to give up on his buckshot Larry. It's like, this is my only pathway to victory. This buckshot, that might be the worst move for my knee. So Page fights back on one leg to hit a fall-away moonsault, which I just tried the other day. You can do it on one leg. It's possible. He injures the knee upon landing, and then White snaps the knee, rolling elbow by Page, but the buckshot gets stopped with a dragon screw in the ropes. Page manages to snap Jay on the top rope, and this is when he hits the Orihara moonsault. As Taz remarks, I think he landed on the knee coming down. I'm like, yeah, I think he did. I think his knee exploded into multiple pieces. So the knee gets chop blocked. Page comes back from a sleeper suplex, giant lariat, and then goes for the buckshot, but the knee buckles. And as Jay goes for the Blade Runner, it's turned into the Deadeye, but Juice Robinson and the Guns, who are ringside, distract the referee, who has a very short attention span. This sets up a 2 count, and then Prince Nana tries to hit Hangman with the crown. However, Page stops him, but it doesn't prevent Jay White from still managing the roll-up and catching Hangman in 18 minutes and 19 seconds. And then Page, on his one leg, sternly limps to the back after Prince Nana. Now, for all my sarcasm, I really enjoyed this match. I thought Hangman, like the knee story was great. Finish was an AEW Top Stars type of finish. It was at 18 minutes, but you kind of knew where they were going after we saw the earlier involvement with Hangman in the Swerve match. But I like the match a lot.
I thought it was a very good match. I don't know if I could say it was a great match. It had that sort of quality I often find with Jay White matches, where portions of it definitely tend to drag, and I don't really find all of it so captivating. But all in all, for a TV quality match with like two pretty big names, I thought it was very satisfying. I think, very important. They did a lot of work for Swerve and Page in setting up that rematch. I think you keep White pretty hot for the MJF program, although I do think you have to give him a pretty definitive win. That's not just as the result of a distraction in the weeks leading up to Full Gear, but we have a lot of time. So all in all, good quality match on TV.
The Bang Bang Gang, or as Renee identified them on the pre-show, the Gang Gang Bang, were in the ring.
I heard that one.
MJF storms out furious and demands the title back. Give me back my belt. And White refers to it as the Bang Bang belt, which sounds like something Braden had in university.
I definitely have that. Yeah.
And rejects the offer to give back the Bang Bang belt. So MJF knows Jay White better than Jay White does, which is quite the statement. I know you don't care about anyone. You'll use people and abuse people, and you're using Juice Robinson and the Guns to get where you want. And that's right out of my playbook. But every morning I wake up and I try to be a better man, and it's working. Even though I hate it, I have earned the people's respect. And they cheer this. There are two things in my life I care about: Adam Cole and my championship, which is my livelihood and it's my legacy. Winning the AEW title makes you the best wrestler in the world. And I know, Jay White, that you are talented. And one day you probably will be on that short list of AEW champions. But that day is not today. And challenges Jay White to be a man, show some respect to the sport, to AEW and these fans. Give me my title back. And White says to MJF, you have to earn it. You have your chance November 18th, and I dare you to come down and face, quote, the five of us, meaning this cardboard cutout, more than meets the eye, okay? This is an active member of the group. And Juice then takes over and says that next week there's a Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal to set up the match for his ring. And he's entering to win the stupid ring. And then he pulls out a roll of quarters that reads Friedman on it. And he's going to break MJF's jaw. And MJF furiously retorts, threatening to kill him, you piece of shit, if you come at me with those quarters. Now, for context here, this is the story that MJF shared of when he was younger and bullies throwing quarters at him for being Jewish. And now with Juice Robinson, it is worth noting the quarters have been a weapon that he has used in the past. But, this is not like some novel idea. People have thrown this idea out of recreating this based on that story. I'm a little uneasy with it. And I think given the timing this week of all weeks of what's going on with Israel, I could certainly see people having, if people were uncomfortable with what the angle was to begin with, you could certainly look at that. But that was definitely a debate coming out of this segment and utilizing this.
I gasped when I saw him do this.
Yeah.
It was territory that I didn't think that they would go into without even thinking about the unfortunate timing of it. This was to me,
I wouldn't have touched it. Like you could argue in the best of times, but this week of all weeks was just it just felt like such a disconnect to the real world, like doing this.
This felt to me like the biggest conversation coming out of the shows, either show tonight. And I don't know if that's a good thing, when I think you're trying to, get a lot of people to talk about your show being better. In no part of that conversation do you want people to talk about this level of real world discomfort that they might feel out of an angle like this. And let me just, say, I don't believe that this angle would have occurred without MJF's blessing. First of all, I would even go as far as to say he might have actually suggested it, because he probably feels like there's a justifiable end here where the bad guy gets his comeuppance. But it's still like territory that I don't think a lot of wrestling fans, when they're watching something for entertainment, want to dwell on or see used, for any sort of heat at all. Beyond that, I think it's a really tough position for Juice, like doing something like this.
It was the end of the segment. Was there heat on Juice or was there heat on the company? Like,
it's the company. Yeah. Yeah. But in storyline, I mean, are the Bullet Club Gold, like, are they white supremacists now? Like, without, like, intentionally provoking like a Jewish person who has been bullied in the past? Like, it makes the whole group look terrible. And we're talking about, professional wrestling here in a group that I don't think anybody is supposed to feel that way about. So I think it's just a tough role for everybody and probably a bad decision.
Yeah, like this is not like people like reading too deeply into things. Like, this is on its surface an angle based on a guy that was bullied for being Jewish, and we're using that for heat. And I think if like there could certainly be like blowback to this. Like, it is an ultra sensitive topic this week of all weeks, that you're just fanning flames, and I would not have touched this.
We were watching on mute, and like our
as
eyes
soon as
were pulled up, and like they are not doing that.
I shouted
right
out
now.
to you. I said, unmute that for a second. He's got a roll of quarters, and it genuinely shocked me when you said you gasped, but you kind of hit it on the head there. To jump in is like, I love when heels are heels and this and that, but I watched this silly entertainment for like escape, and when of all times to do it this week, I just felt that was so off, because so many people on social media for weeks, for months, almost a year since he's brought it up in the CM Punk feud, have been like, oh, like it's going to be cheap heat for a heel to do that. And I always thought, like, man, that would be really weird if they did that. And of course they didn't actually do it, but alluding to it, it was just so weird. Like, of all the time this week.
It's always been that debate in wrestling, because we watch it knowing it's scripted entertainment and we have good guys and bad guys, but we don't watch it in the same way we'd watch like an HBO drama, which has the same things and has bad people doing horrific things. And it's kind of because wrestling hasn't earned that pass to do it, I think, because it hasn't handled topics sensitively in the past. All of that aside, doing it this week of all weeks was just bad. Like, I'm thinking of like previous tragedies we've had in the world where you see, and we're not airing tonight's episode of whatever because it involves a school shooting or whatever, and something recently happened, so we're going to air this old episode. You go back as far as Spider-Man, they removed the Twin Towers from it because it was so close that timing and they didn't want to seem. This is a live broadcast where we know, following wrestling for years, scripts change up to the moment they go out. I think this was really poor, a really poor decision putting this on tonight of all nights.
And we'll leave the stink.
If ever, but like, that's another debate about how far we can go in storytelling. I just think it was completely tactless doing it tonight.
Yeah, I like, just judging by the reactions that I've seen up until this point, the reactions in our chat room, the reactions from Jewish friends of mine to something like this, I expect them to drop it very quickly. They might even, be at the point where they might not even mention it and not bring out those quarters and pretend it never ever happened. But or you might just get MJF like decking, Juice, and that's the end of that. But I would say pretty unfortunate that we're even having this conversation on a night when we should really be celebrating professional wrestling and not talking about, the something like this.
Yeah, like, that's your answer, Wai. Like, if that's indicative of like an audience member that you have offended to such a degree that they are not going to participate in your programming, like, that is not a successful angle. And I don't know, I just watched this and it just felt to me, how did this get through whatever channels? And it just felt like zero awareness. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, there's no one connected to like what is going on in the real world. And like, our show somehow doesn't exist in that real world. That's what it felt like. It felt like that angle that they did. You'll remember this, Davey, when the subway bombing happened in July of 2005, and WWE went ahead with their terrorist attack angle and ran it on like UPN. And it was just like, the real world, like, does supersede your entertainment, and it was a very uncomfortable angle. And I mean, I wasn't monitoring online, but from what you guys have said, like, it certainly sounds like it was a big turnoff for people.
I almost wonder, like, because we know MJF has been very vocal with his audience, especially lately now that he's a babyface, about, you know, like last week he talked about how his segment wasn't great and he took ownership of that. I wonder if he will address this and some of the reactions to this.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what ratings and everyone's going, this show is better. This show is better. As much as I love AEW, I genuinely think they took the L from tonight simply because they let this segment go to air. Like, shocked me. My eyes were huge when this happened.
Yeah.
Incredible that it did.
Well, that we throw on back to you guys for where we at.
There was a Tony Storm little.
Well, there was another lovers love. I was going to kick off our final half hour with that, but we can end this one off with that too.
So we then have Dominic Mysterio, the NXT North American champion, with Rhea Ripley taking on the Mad Dragon, the NXT champion, Ilya Dragunov. Ilya is just lighting Dominic up with these huge chops, some are even to the throat, delivers his standing senton, a series of German suplexes. LA Knight's the special guest referee, by the way.
Wearing Tim's.
Tim's.
Has a ref ever worn Tim's boots in a match? That's
Earl
incredible. I don't know. These ones, he looked pretty good.
I like Tim's, but I don't know how people could climb into a ring with it. They're heavy.
I could not imagine
They're
wrestling
heavy.
or
Wrestling in them.
Yeah, oh man.
He looked good though.
Oh yeah, very fashionable.
Well, Rhea distracts LA, allowing Dominic to take advantage. After the break, we see Dragunov come back, hitting the Constantine special. The crowd are just really hot for LA Knight here, chanting, yeah. Meanwhile, we see the Jay White and Hangman match going on the other screen. Ilya deadlift slams Dom, is lighting him up with more chops. Dominic catapults him into the ropes to hit the 619, which Ilya kicks it out of. They're then fighting on the top, and Ilya delivers a superplex. And then this was quite a cool moment because we saw both the NXT champion and the AEW champion on screen at the same time. There's a huge powerbomb from Ilya, followed by his... Does he have a name for this yet? His just knockout blow.
Like the final shot or something like that,
yeah. And Ilya's setting up for the Torpedo Moscow when Finn Balor runs out, as does JD McDonough. LA Knight takes out Finn. He hits the blunt force trauma to JD. And then Rhea tries to use the championship on Ilya, but Trick Williams runs out, grabs the title off her, and she falls into his arms, and he has a moment like, oh, that's a girl. And then Ilya hits the Torpedo Moscow for the win.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It was okay. It was basically Ilya beating down on Dominic, which was pretty cool. Seeing Dom take that final finish, he sold it really well. So I thought that looked pretty good. But it was your classic Dom match with like the shenanigans and all 70 members of the Judgment Day coming and running out. But former NXT champion Finn Balor making a little appearance back here.
Lincoln, you'll miss it.
Yeah. And same with JD, former NXT talent as well as Rhea, everyone here pretty much. So it is pretty cool. But the match itself was fine. Ilya can't really have bad matches, but it's Dom and it was TV.
You know, it's one of those things. It's on the lower end of Ilya. It's on the higher end of Dom.
Yeah.
I do think Dom has been looking pretty good against like better workers. Like I've actually really enjoyed his matches against Dragon Lee.
It's all that NXT developmental time.
Like it is helping, but I am seeing improvements from Dom, but this was definitely on the lower side of Ilya matches. And Cody knew it. He was like, you know what? We don't need a double champ.
Not
like,
again. We've done that before.
Ilya's winning this. Dom, just keep your thing.
Yeah.
After the match, Corbin comes out when Dijak appears from behind to take out Ilya. And Dijak just says, I beat you to it. I was here first. So kind of setting up for a match that will be announced next week.
Yeah. So Dijak's sticking his nose into some business when Corbin's making it known that, like earlier, he seemed pretty mad that LA Knight cut him off, but he clearly is gunning for the Halloween Havoc spot.
So Corbin beat Ilya before.
Right, yeah.
Dijak lost, right? In his Ilya match?
Yeah. So really, he's got doesn't he have a tree to beat up or something? He's busy.
Justice.
It's something about justice. I feel like I saw a great tweet from Stephanie Chase around the time it cut to Baron Corbin when he was backstage, and then AEW had Jay White and Hangman coming out, and Steph tweeted, "Rip NXT's female demo right now." And it's funny, I read that tweet and laughed because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, AEW, like, look at this bum ass Corbin on the screen, and over here is two of the most handsome men fighting. I definitely had, my eyes were like, oh, let's go see what's going on over here more than on NXT at one point. But yeah, I think we're setting up Dijak and Ilya for. There's 2 weeks of Halloween Havoc, so I'm wondering if we do double title matches.
Well, they've announced like the number one contender match.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
with obviously our winner.
We'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't read ahead. We then cut backstage to Carmelo Hayes, John Cena, and Trick Williams, all just hanging out. And Melo is saying that he's mad that Braun disrespected Cena like that. And they make a "you can't see me" joke.
Cena with the classic, "Wait, you can see me?"
Yeah. Good stuff. Melo then says, "Look, tonight start my redemption. I'm going to beat Braun and then get back my NXT championship." And then he looks at Trick and goes, "And we'll get you back your North American championship too, Trick." And Trick is looking a bit like despondent from it. So Melo leaves, and then Trick turns to Cena and he goes, "Hey, John, can I ask you something? When did you know that your time was now?" And Cena goes, "Let's talk." So Trick is still kind of feeling in the shadow of Melo.
Right.
I am enjoying how they're doing this story. A little cheesy with Cena, but
yeah,
I kind of liked it. Him asking the advice, like, "Is it my like? Should I be trying to break out right now?"
Yeah, because it's Melo already like saying, "I'm going for the NXT title again, and you can go for the."
You can go for that little one again.
Yeah,
if you
so
like.
Trick's like, "Yo, come on, man." But it was
Did
cool.
Brooks
seeing
Jensen catch up with John Cena and tell him how B squared is doing?
Yeah, I was hoping for that with Cena, with the tie-in to his dad.
Yeah, there was no Brooks this week, unfortunately.
No, we didn't get that, but we got Trick, Melo, Cena gang. So we'll take what we can.
And we might be bringing back the Brooks Jensen soon. Take that for
the Brooks.
Will
we? What does that mean?
The drink.
Oh, the drink. Right. Yeah.
We then see there's a certain, I don't know if you know the NXT Monopoly board,
right?
But we've got the
parking lot,
barbershop, the parking lot. We've got Apollo Crews Diner.
We had Santos's yacht.
We've got the fishing pond. Braun likes hanging out. Yeah. And we've got the NXT kitchen, where people just hang when they're not working.
This is not Shawn Michaels cooking, right?
No. But this was Corbin in the kitchen burning meat, probably.
Well, he used to dress like a server, so he might as well.
Doesn't he burn? He can't grill.
He burns the chips.
Yeah. And the steaks. Well, Corbin and Cody are in the kitchen just hanging out. And Corbin wants Cody to give him an NXT title match. And our feed then crapped out like ends up doing at the beginning of the show. But Cody says, basically, "I've got a plan."
Cody says no.
As the clock hits 9:30 and we go back to John Wai.
Well, we're in the home stretch of Dynamite, and we go into Saraya and Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship.
The clock ticks 9:30.
It is time for your women's match of AEW's.
Both channels. Oh my God,
channels.
both channels at 9:30.
NXT had two of them though.
Yeah, true.
So Shida's on the floor, and I thought Akira Tozawa had made his turn and joined AEW because we get a masked ninja that turns out to be Ruby Soho in disguise, who gets caught with her spray paint can. Storm then runs down, Toni Storm that is, and attacks Soho with her slippers and takes her into the crowd.
Watch for the shoe.
With the shoe. And Saraya yanks Shida by the arm, flips her onto the edge of the apron, and then Shida comes back and delivers a delayed German to Saraya onto the edge of the apron. Saraya had to have been the most trusting person of Hikaru Shida, as they were like, wow, her neck is terrible. Why did she take that?
I mean, it was delivered very safely, very, I almost feel like Shida took the brunt of this herself. And I do also wonder if this part of this was like to maybe answer some online criticism that's been thrown her way about not being able to take bumps on the back of her head, specifically with the German suplex. I mean, it's a really stupid thing if that's the case. There's no need for her to prove that. But I'll
tell you, I hope this match shut some people up, because I thought this was a great match that these two had. And Saraya's had a handful of them of late. So The match continues. The katana gets stopped, and Paige goes for what was the Paige tap out, and it stopped with an up kick. She hits the nightcap. Sheeta kicks out, and the crowd is chanting, "Holy Sheeta!" And then Saraya grabs the kendo stick and casually puts the spray paint over her belt buckle. Paul Turner takes the kendo stick, like in plain view is this spray paint can that he misses. So he turns around like a total fool, and she just takes the spray paint, sprays it in her eyes. I was like, if this is the finish, this sucks. And she kicks out after another nightcap. So it was the tease of throw everything at her. She's still going to kick out. And then we just get a series of roll-up counters with Sheeta getting the final reversal and pinning Saraya in 11-17, making Sheeta a 3-time women's champion and our second title change on the show and overcoming blindness. So from Charlotte Flair on SmackDown to Sheeta tonight, the mist is not what it used to be in pro wrestling. There seems to be a, maybe it's some sort of protective cover. Maybe Muto has finally given the secret away after retiring.
Or maybe we've just evolved, we've just developed an immunity. All of us.
Food coloring can be absorbed.
I guess so. Yeah. I didn't think the match was great. I thought it was good. But I thought
tough critic tonight.
I'm sorry.
I like this.
I don't doubt that you did. I mean, I thought it was acceptable, but I guess I still see a lot of limitations in what Saraya can do, and I don't even know how much of it is due to health or how much of it is just due to her. I don't think she's fully adapted to the AEW standard that I come to expect, from all my wrestling there. And I also wonder if this was like a match or like a title change where it was simply a means to get the belt off of her, or if they truly had plans for Sheeta, because I have my doubts. We've seen Sheeta last time she won, she was basically a transitional champion. I hope she's not a transitional champion this time around either. And I hope that they could do something similar to what, I hope they're doing with Orange Cassidy to tell us this run is going to be different from the last.
Maybe she senses a weakness in Saraya's neck and she's going to come at her with subtitles.
I mean, she didn't really need to do all that.
Jericho, they announced, has been taken to the hospital due to injuries from Powerhouse Hobbs. And then they announced that AEW is donating 50,000 toys to the Toys for Tots this Christmas, that Tony Schiavone calls his favorite announcement that he has ever made. Rampage on Friday, we have, get your pen and paper out, Claudio and Yuta against the Gates of Agony, Sky Blue against Amy Sakura, the Hardys and Brother Zay against Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Daniel Garcia, and Jay Lethal against Trent Beretta. As Braden will be staying in Friday night for that. Collision on Saturday has Brian Danielson challenging Christian Cage for the TNT title. And then Dynamite next week, the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal.
Yeah, so we got the Bada Boom, Bada Bing Battle Royal and the...
Oh, man, the Bada Boom, Bada Bing Battle Royal with the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal on consecutive nights.
The show's not on the same night next week, right? Oh,
no, thank God they're not going head-to-head next week.
We're having another Three Kings Battle Royal. What was it? The
oh God, that one.
Three Kings.
Hey man, they drew a rating for that insanely named Battle Royal last Christmas time. The Three Kings, God knows whatever the hell Battle Royal.
I need to jump.
What did they win? $100,000? It was Top Flight and
it was
AR Fox.
AR Fox, yeah.
Right when it cut to the commentary desk with Tony Schiavone, he goes, "Tony Khan has given me the pleasure to announce this huge announcement." And our feed cut out, and I went, Davey, our feed.
We're trying to navigate two controllers, and sometimes
so
I try to turn up one TV. And I mute the wrong one. And he goes, and the huge announcement is, and I accidentally turn it off.
So I'm like,
Braden's like, fuck's sake, David, what's going on?
So he gets it back up like in a mere 30 seconds.
It's like, we're on fight thanks to certain VPNs.
So he rewinded just 10 seconds for me. The big announcement is, we've donated a lot of toys, and I just went, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, David. I'm sorry I yelled at you."
It's a very nice gesture, but the way Tony was pumping this up, I mean, it was definitely a ploy.
Yeah, like
he reiterated though after, this is the biggest thing we've ever done.
Like I'm so happy to announce.
Like it's great.
Look, I'm happy the kids are getting toys, but I was under the assumption it was like, hey, Mercedes is signed.
We thought Goldberg was coming.
Yeah, like I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh, we gave away some money for kids and toys. Okay.
The wrestling fans' prerogative.
Fuck them kids, bro.
Callis and Takeshita, they got to do the Sammy Guevara treatment with the signs during the picture-in-picture about it. There was a picture of it was either Jericho or Omega was being stabbed in the neck with a screwdriver in this photo. Guevara then they state will be back and they're going to pay for what they did to him. Another person who's not cleared. Renee catches up with MJF. He is not in the mood to be interviewed. He just wants to call Adam Cole to get some advice. So he calls up Adam Cole, who's in the house with poor reception. And we think it's going to go to voicemail, but Adam Cole does pick it up. And it's like, Adam, where are you? It's like, I'm hanging out at the BDE. Can you hear my feed coming in and out? And he says, he goes over all of his problems. Samoa Joe wants to come back for the title. I'm having these problems with Jay White stealing my title. And then the phone cuts out and we get MJF yelling, Adam, and it cuts out and there's no Adam Cole in his poor reception of Roderick Strong's humble abode. So the Acclaimed come in and Max Caster offers to team up with them. And Max just storms off. Billy Gunn's like, why were you offering our services to him? And Max explains his history with MJF. And he also likes to play hard to get. So we are continuing this. And somehow MJF is going to embrace these, Max Caster and his friends. And this will be our 4-on-4 battle. But they still need to find a cardboard cutout as well.
You are right. Yeah.
It's 5-on-4 at the moment.
Right.
And then our final segment of the night, which was the overrun, or would include the overrun. Christian's out with Luchasaurus. They mentioned Darby Allin, not cleared to compete. It's like a MASH unit here. Cage makes fun of the Kansas City Chiefs and left Adam Copeland in shock last week, telling him to go fuck himself. And he explains Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, they're not going to leave me because unlike you, Adam, I didn't take some ragtag group, dress them up like it's Halloween, and convince them they're tough guys. Man,
awesome.
Putting a guilty judgment here placed upon a group in WWE, and says, I am not their leader. I'm their father. And mentions how Copeland wanted to finish his career together. Says, where was that sentiment when I was being held back and when I was the more talented one and you were getting pushed to the moon, huh? When did you want to team up then? And he said that your career, Adam, is on a downward slope. I keep climbing to new heights. I'm the hottest star in the industry. You need me. I don't need you. And the fact is, I've got a lot of fans, including your wife, Beth, who's a huge fan of mine, and tells Adam's daughters, Ruby and Lyric, that they'll be taken care of. And then in the line of the night, Beth put some clean sheets on the bed because their new daddy is coming home.
Ooh. This was awesome. I mean,
Dude,
again,
I just howled at this.
With MJF, like pretty much full babyface at this point, getting this type of like don't go there type of promo from Christian, I thought was fantastic. I thought his he made great reference, of course, to the Judgment Day and why he's different. I love the line where he said, you wanted to be their leader. I'm not their leader. I'm their father. It is perfect. And he also gave us great logic for why he doesn't want to team with Adam Copeland. I guess we can infer in storyline purposes that they had a chance to team up back then when the two of them briefly reunited after the Rumble, and Christian had no role and thus came over to AEW. They
brought me back to the company and didn't sign me to a contract and let me walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that on Adam Copeland?
Well, in storyline, sure.
Okay.
He could have fought for a role for his friend and offered to team up, but he didn't choose to at that time. So
I should say, listen, you could have had a blue dot on your face, okay? Maybe I fought some battles for you that you weren't aware of, okay?
Yes.
So after bringing up the family, Adam Copeland charges down to the ring, right into Luchasaurus, who blocks him. And then Nick Wayne is in, grabs him by the leg, and Luchasaurus hits the Extinction Lariat to the back. And the fans are cheering him on as Copeland makes his way to his feet and the match begins. And then we get just a one-sided beatdown for like 3/4 of the match. It's just Luchasaurus pounding on Adam Copeland. Taz mentions that back in the day when they were teaming, everyone liked Adam Copeland way more than Christian. And Copeland finally manages a spinning DDT off the apron as his first bit of offense. And it was not mentioned once. It was mentioned like 3 times between Excalibur and Taz, just casually referring to him as Cope.
Oh goodness. Well, Copeland can be a bit of a mouthful, I suppose, when you're trying to talk really fast. And it was really hard for me to get used to like seeing this guy wrestle and hearing like myself try to call him Copeland. It's kind of icky.
What about Ledge? Are we okay with Ledge?
I don't know if I am either. I'm fine just calling him Edge, even here.
Okay. Well, the steps are turned sideways and they fight on the turnbuckle. And wouldn't you know it, Cope did not get suplexed to the floor on the steps, but instead Christian is on the apron and he distracts as Nick Wayne places a chair in the corner. Copeland misses a spear, runs into the chair, then a choke slam, but kicks out, ducks an extinction lariat, and then drops Luchasaurus onto the edge of the apron, and then manages to spring off the steps and spear Luchasaurus in midair. This was a pretty impressive looking maneuver for Adam Copeland as he hit him with the spear to the floor. Then Cage has the belt. Copeland steals it, nails Luchasaurus with the belt, drops Nick Wayne, but he places the title back into Christian's hands. So when Luchasaurus turns around, he thinks Christian has hit him with the title and he's confused, setting up the spear and the win by Cope in 15 minutes and 31 seconds. Then Nick Wayne attacks with a chop block, and we get everybody out here. Danielson comes out. The BCC follow. The Mogul Embassy are out with Swerve. So we've got Cage and Danielson fighting. Hangman's brawling with Swerve. Copeland spears Nick Wayne, which the camera missed as their tribute to his comeback at the Rumble with Dolph Ziggler. And then Danielson submits Christian Cage, who is tapping out as they're pushing that if that happens on Saturday, we'll have a new champion. And that is how the show ends, with a wild brawl that I believe went 5 minutes after NXT went off the air. So they had 5 minutes unopposed at the end here, and thus capped off a long night of AEW.
It was very long. Yeah. I think the match was a good match. I don't know if it was necessarily the statement that I was looking for it to be. Number one, in the main event of this head-to-head war with the Undertaker on the other channel, and also for Adam Copeland's first match in AEW. I thought it was good, and you would even say like very good for a man's first match, within a new company. But I think there are some problems for me with like Luchasaurus. They're telling him as a heel to work that very kind of slow traditional giant style, and unfortunately in this match he came across to me a little bit generic, and obviously with the mask, not that much charisma to be able to carry that style through. I mean, he's 98 Kane, is what they're trying to present him as.
He's also 65 million years old, which it's tough,
right?
To
so traditional
the hands of time.
Would be right for him. I thought it was a bit of an average match personally, but we see like everybody they kind of have to come in and they have to kind of find that next gear. You saw it with Danielson, where I don't think his first matches were good, but he's way better now and more dynamic, and I think we'll get that with Edge eventually too. But for a first match, I guess you could say it was good.
Braden Davie, your overall thoughts on tonight's NXT, and I guess what you could gather from
we've got another.
We have a whole block.
Oh yeah, you guys have the show to finish. Sorry,
we've got to talk about Lola Vice. This is Danny Palmer, the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament.
Yeah, you guys got Tony Storm. We got Lola Vice. How about
that? So this is a first round tournament match. Lola Vice hits this running hip attack in the top corner. Palmer goes for this top rope kind of twisting moonsault. Lola moves and Danny lands on her feet, but Lola applies a submission. Palmer transitions that into a pin attempt. Lola gets out and then hits her like martial arts spin kick right to the head, taking out Danny Palmer and advancing in the tournament.
Yeah, Danny Palmer's been someone we've seen like little bits about and lots of backflips and that kind of background, but it's definitely Lola Vice that should have everyone's attention going forward. I think she'll be a big deal in WWE and showcasing like some triangles and armbar takedowns and then a sweet looking, almost like the Black Mass kick, but does it really well. And like, I think she's the complete package, and little by little, she keeps getting better. And I think she should be the one to, if not win this breakout tournament. I see her in the finals against Kalani Jordan.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from both. I think Danny is very smooth on the kind of high flying, the acrobatics, and Lola's sort of strikes do look really nice. I I see it looking at the brackets. We've got Carmen Petrovic versus Jada Parker. The winner of that will take on Lola Vice. And Ariana Grace and Jakara Jackson, winner of that will take on Kalani Jordan. So I think we're probably getting Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice in the final.
Yeah, unless the girl from Toronto with the sword has anything to do with, she could bring the sword out, which
maybe
there is a girl with the sword, so we'll see.
We go to Chase U and we see JC Jane and Thea Hale, and they've gone back to class. And JC actually told Thea to go back to class, but the deal is that JC can come along too. And JC tells Andre Chase that she's excited because they vibed last week. And Andre Chase is looking a bit suspicious about this. So Chase is giving his class, and we're coming up to Halloween. So he says, I'm going to give a lecture about Halloween Havoc. And it started in 1989 in Philadelphia. We're going to Philadelphia in April for WrestleMania. And as he's going on, we see JC and Thea just chatting away. And Duke Hudson is studiously taking notes. And Chase feels like he's lost control. The whole class is breaking down. And then he asks David, what the fuck is on your screen? That's so interesting that you're not listening to me talk about Halloween Havoc.
He's watching AEW.
And David is watching the Saraya match, I guess, right now. Andre Chase grabs his phone, smashes it against the wall, and says, everything around here was fine until you came along. And JC says, well, sorry, we were just talking because we were so excited because you and Duke are going to be in the Bada Bing, Bada Boom Battle Royal next week. And Duke says, look, Andre, some good things can come from social media. Turns to this guy, David, and David says, well, no, my phone's broken. I can't use social media. And JC just says, we're going to have so much fun to Andre Chase. So
yeah,
she seems to be having taken the role of Duke Hudson as the one who's maybe fucking with Chase U. But will she eventually see the light?
Maybe she's just, maybe the same thing will happen, that she'll realize actually Chase U's pretty good and can help me out. But yeah, it's very Mean Girls entering Degrassi High here. And I guess next week, we keep thinking she's just going to cost them something. But
I want Chase U to win this.
Yeah.
Bada Bing, Bada Boom.
What's it called again?
Bada Boom, Bada Bing.
Yeah.
We then see Paul Heyman with Bron Breakker.
Yeah, this was pretty great.
Heyman says, I've worked with your father and your uncle, and you have the best that both had to offer. And I'm not the wise man because of the past. I'm the wise man because I see the future. And I see the future as Bron Breakker in the main event of WrestleMania. And Bron says, I don't care about Mello or Cena. I'm going to break them all. And he walks off ready for his match. And Heyman gets his phone out and says, call Roman Reigns.
He's got that Siri on lock. Yeah, I love this. Very Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar vibes here with the old wise man basically saying, I know you're the future. You're awesome. I'm in your corner. And possibly it makes you think as a wrestling fan, like, oh, could Braun be a Paul Heyman guy?
I think Braun is the character you need to debut big.
Yeah.
You need to debut him like just killing a top guy right away.
Yeah.
Have him with Heyman or whatever. I hope they follow through with this, and this isn't just, hey, this is the week we loaded up and just it's cool to say. I think because Braun's been ready to leave since dropping the title and finding this new character. It's just when to do it and against who. But I really like this pairing.
Yeah, it's cool.
We then see Brian Pillman Jr., who's watching the TV. He's in a dark room.
He's got the T-shirt on again.
He's got the Bengal.
Yeah. He's also got I don't want to use the word great, but he's got a lineup, like the chin, like
the beard.
He looks like when you're a GTA character and you like scroll through and it's like, I want the fade, but like on your face.
Yeah.
But he's also got the mullet though.
So it's cutting between like clips of him talking and clips of his dad back in the day wrestling. And he says, I want to bring as much pain as I had growing up as I had that my father brought to me. And for those very reasons, I'm not going to be a junior anymore. And I don't want you to think of him when you see my face. And it's cutting like his face with Brian Pillman Sr.'s face. I mean, they're obviously strikingly look very alike. But he says, I want to take the name of the man who did raise me and my last name will be King.
So yeah, kind of making it clear that he won't be using the Pillman Jr. moniker.
He also, as this aired, tweeted out, 26 years ago, my father was buried, and tonight I buried his last name. I will no longer be known as the lost son living in my father's shadows. I will forge my own path and stop at nothing until I am the king of NXT. Do you see this? Like, he's coming across heelish,
yeah,
right?
kind of arrogant. Yeah.
Like, I like the explaining of like his name and why and that, but it's coming across very arrogant. And we know like how WWE paint their legends. They always paint them in a good light, despite what their past is a lot of the time. So I see this totally as coming in as an arrogant heel.
Yeah, is this like Mr. Perfect Son being like, I'm going to use McGillicuddy because I don't want to use my dad's name because he sucked or whatever. Like, I don't, is it kind of the same? I'm not sure. I also like this guy's, he had some things in AEW that we've seen, but like, I want to be proven wrong and see like something really entertaining and good from this. And maybe NXT WWE is what he needs, but we'll see.
We see the whole of the women's division kind of just fangirling over Asuka, but Tiffany Stratton walks up to her and really isn't interested in her. So teasing maybe a Tiffany Asuka match, which should be pretty good.
That would be good.
We see next week, we've got the Bada Bing, Bada Boom Battle Royal, a three-way number one contenders match for the NXT title. So Dijak versus Baron Corbin versus the winner of this main event. And then we are getting Lyra Valkyria versus Tegan Nox. Paul Heyman comes out for the main event and says, on behalf of his tribal chief, it's his pleasure to introduce badass Bron Breakker. And we have Carmelo with John Cena, obviously, in his corner. Bron is very dominant at the beginning of the match. Melo catches him with a super kick and starts to fire back, hitting his suplex lift into the cutter, but only a 2 count. Cena in his best overacting on the outside. Any near fall, like eyes wide open. What? Melo goes to the top rope and Bron just leaps to the top, hitting this like avalanche DDT.
Yeah, Braun usually does his uncle's Frankensteiner off the top rope, but this was like he was going for one of Melo's like DDT type things. I'm not sure if he hit what he was supposed to hit, but it was 2 guys falling off the top. So yeah,
Melo goes for nothing but net, but gets caught, and Braun hits his military press power slam, but Melo kicks out, and now Cena's just jumping around. Braun goes the outside and pulls the stairs. He's ready to. Well, we know what he did to Von Wagner. He's ready to crush Melo's head, but Cena pulls the stairs off of Braun and even kicks him in the shin.
Ref didn't see it. It's fine.
Ref didn't see.
You mad?
Well, no one can see it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No one can see
No
him.
one can see him.
True.
This is when Solo Sikoa runs out and Melo hits the code breaker on the outside and then rolls Braun into the ring and hits nothing but net for the win.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Melo beating Braun here in their this is the rubber match essentially here. Pretty good match. Didn't hit the quality of their other ones, but I like the dynamic. These two have great chemistry together, and it felt so weird. Like what again in a bubble on NXT? It's like, wait, why is Cena here? Why is Heyman here? Are both guys being called up? Are they like being looked at as prospects? That's something that NXT could do a lot more. Is like have main roster guys being like. You know, why isn't Lashley and the Street Profits down here being like, oh, Melo, okay, I see you. Like, let's.
Okay, well, we might have lost Braden Davie here towards the end, unfortunately. But that was most of their NXT review. So Braden Davie, if you guys can hear me, please reconnect and hopefully we can get back to you guys and at the end of your review.
Yeah, this is their lover's lament.
Unfortunately. Apologies for some of the technical issues. Again, I take all the blame for it. This was my idea, and sometimes you can't really foresee some of the technical issues involved. So let's go to some feedback here, and then we'll reconnect with Braden and Davey, I'm sure, by the end.
All right, let's go on over to the forum, and we start off with Benjamin, who mentions that Cole Strong Kingdom vignette was a big drop in quality. Part of what made last week's good was the cuts to Taven stroking the giraffe gingerly. Yeah, that was what made it. Yay, Sheeta. Christian Cage is perfect. Change the sheets. New daddy's coming home. I hope Swerve isn't going to get 50-50'd against Hangman Page.
All right, let's go up next to Steve, who says Swerve versus Danielson was a great match. Tough to have either of them lose right now, but I wanted Swerve to take it. Jay White is a good wrestler, but his presentation is annoying. The whole group doesn't work for me. Do you think he was ready for this spot? I feel like there are a ton of people higher than him on the card that deserve it more at this point. Cheers, guys. Thanks for all you do.
I mean, it's a big position to be, the center of this main program for the next 6 weeks until Full Gear. I'm a lot higher on Jay White than most, but I do understand that he's not to everyone's liking. I think that like what the options were that are on the table.
Swerve.
Swerve. It could have been the direction. I would look at Swerve as, we will see where this Hangman program goes, because it does feel somewhat repetitive to a degree that they're going with this, as opposed to Swerve getting that win and elevating himself. It feels like he'll be tied up with Hangman for the foreseeable future.
I imagine Page actually gets his win back over Swerve, and then maybe they do number 3. I think it was too soon to announce Jay White without getting him hot enough for this title challenge. He's the Bullet Club Gold. I think it has been a highlight of AEW Collision. I would say AEW as a whole for several months now. I think he was approaching that point, but to just get him to have him announced for a pay-per-view title match, which is very different from just a TV title match, might have been a little bit premature.
I do want to mention, just before we go on in the feedback, so much of that segment is going to be focused on the role of quarters. For MJF, who very much took it to heart last week, his promo, and being very public about what he felt like he blew last week, I thought his babyface fire in that promo, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was an excellent babyface that still is able to maintain, it's not sacrificing all of the tenets of the MJF character, but it's enough that it's like, man, he's this babyface that all these people want to get behind. And I thought tonight was a way better promo than last week.
I thought so too.
And that's going to be forgotten in that segment, but I thought it was great.
I really don't even think last week's was maybe as bad. I think there might be criticisms of those segments being too long, and I can certainly see that, but I didn't even think last week's was really maybe as bad as he probably took it. So,
but this week's was more effective for
agreed.
What they were building towards. I agree with you. It's not, I didn't, look at it as too detrimental last week, but this was way more effective to me for what you want out of him.
Let's go up next to Manny from Pacoima, who actually is the subject of this week's edition of Postmarks coming out on Thursday. So listen to that for free over at the Post Wrestling Cafe feed. Let's go to Manny, who says, Tony and AEW now have heat with me for taking that title off of Saraya. NXT Homecoming was a pretty fun watch. The tag battle royal has my interest since Garza said something might happen on the anniversary of Don Garza's passing. Braun's been losing a lot of matches. Should he just be called up? I'm excited for Lyra versus Tegan, and the video package to promote Becky versus Lyra was fantastic. Speaking of video packages, this Lexus Tiger King promo was good, but what was up with that haircut and beard? Did you get a chance to see any stills or anything from it?
No, other than what you just showed. I didn't get to see any of it, but it's
it looked great. It looked like one of the more buzzworthy things I would say coming out of this. The creative I think they've done for this seems to have been held up really well, up until this point. All right, you want to go next?
Muggin, NXT brought it. The usage of the main roster guest stars was the Trojan horse to attract new viewers, but it was the current roster that got them to stay. Some fun wrestling throughout the night. The return to the Dusty Classic was a layup, with Cody being the GM for the night. Ilya Dragunov sent Dom to Jesus. The Trick Mello story got pushed forward, and the dead man returned to his yard. Oscar Perez was too short for my liking. It was nice to see Jade Cargill pop up. Dynamite had some good stuff, with Sheeta pulling off the three-peat. Swerve Danielson ruled, and Copeland Luchasaurus was a strong main event. The Tony Storm vignette to picture-in-picture wasn't wise.
I mean,
it was.
I wonder why. I mean, it was designed to be a picture-in-picture thing, right?
But did Dom get sent to Jesus?
That's a great question. I don't know. Maybe our friends at upNXT can answer that if they're back. They might not be.
let's just wrap this one up, boy. Let's
Sorry, guys.
Feedback here. Maybe turn off the video, guys, before we sign off.
Yeah, that might help. Okay, I'll go to our next. I'll go to our next piece of feedback here. Jordan from the Bronx says, "I usually watch both shows when they're live on their respective nights, but tonight I chose AEW as it's the show I prefer on most weeks. I'm more invested in the long-term developments coming out of Dynamite than I am of the short-term curiosity of seeing all of the guest stars on NXT. I understand WWE wanting to boost up NXT and claim a victory in the ratings, but as a fan, it doesn't work for me. I like watching NXT to see the stars of the future develop. It gets to be ridiculous when Cena, Cody, Asuka, and the like are doing obvious cameos that won't contribute to the long term of the NXT show itself. It's a neat photo op to get Melo and Undertaker together, but what does that lead to down the road? It's nice for those to get a kick out of this battle, but personally, I would have preferred an NXT that showcased what the brand really is."
Maybe he's gonna take him under his wing.
Yeah, Braden and Davie, if you guys could hear us, do you have any thoughts on that?
Can you hear us?
Yes,
we can. Crystal clear.
Yeah, anyone who has Fido, cancel it. Get something else. Not a sponsor, right?
What did you feel? Yeah, did you hear the question from Jordan?
No, I think I heard that comment about it being a Trojan horse, and I don't really think it was enough of a Trojan horse, to be honest. I think we've seen way better matches on NXT in the last few months, weekly. Thinking back to those kind of like the Heritage Cup tournament matches with like Axiom and Butch and all them bait. I didn't really think there was a blowaway wrestling match tonight, which is, I think, is what it really needed, because I think you were going to have a lot of new viewers on. It's cool having Undertaker, but having Braun, who is your big prospect, possible future Paul Heyman guy, lose the main event and then just get bitched out by Undertaker. Like, yeah, okay, it's cool for the pop, but what does that really serve? Especially with Braun Breaker, who I think is one of your top stars and prospects.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the badass thing, it was again in an NXT bubble. You're like, wait, why is Undertaker here? Like Braun's been saying he's the badass for weeks and months, half a year. It's like now all of a sudden Undertaker heard this and has to come out to fight him and beat him up. So it is a bit odd if you're trying to make sense of it. Undertaker coming out instantly gets people's attention. It's like, oh shit, it's the Undertaker. Cool, I get that, but really a weird.
But it's
placement.
like not like you're going to get a match Braun versus Undertaker.
Like,
and
the image is both him and Melo doing the arm raise at the end. It's like, wait, what does Melo and Taker have to do with each other? I don't know. But hey, I got to hear Kid Rock tonight. So
yeah, I guess the question I would have for NXT is that, tonight was like building everything up for this one night. And we have seen this trend of, a number of people that have come down and made a meaningful difference with the audience. Becky Lynch being the most recent example. Is that next week, like, let's say it's Becky Lynch that's coming. Does it feel like somewhat lesser when we're just going back after this giant peak versus, take two of our main stars? Like, we could have had Cena and Cody in hours 1 and 2 tonight in big roles and sort of used all these other cameos for the next 2 months over different periods of time that it would have kind of built the audience versus like you peak now. Are they going to have the same effect of, a upper mid card performer showing up in 2 weeks time that it's going to have that same impact? We'll see. I'm certain this is going to be a very strong number, and overall the show has been having a lot of momentum behind it. So we'll see that maybe this just catapults more people to be into NXT, and this was the reason that they needed to find an excuse to sit down and watch the show.
There's good wrestling on NXT, honestly. Every week, this week, nothing hit like the normal, like, oh, that was the match of the night. I guess, the Braun and Melo match, really, but nothing hit like that. But I will say, like, week by week, NXT does hit. For people who like to cherry pick their wrestling, like, there tends to be like some crazy matches that come out of there. Look, last week at No Mercy and so forth. So the wrestling is still there, but the stink of 2.0 and the Degrassi High stuff is still lingering.
I just don't know if you were to watch this for the first time. Like, I think if you tuned into No Mercy for the first time, you'd be talking about Tiffany Stratton. You'd be talking about Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. I don't know how much you'd have come out of this show talking about its regular stars.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't even know if that was the number one purpose of tonight, right? Like, the number one purpose of tonight was probably to be able to say, hey, we got to win over AEW.
No. Paul Heyman said today it is to He humbly submits that it is to showcase the next generation of stars and that NXT has one of the greatest rosters in history. That was what tonight was about.
Well, if it's a byproduct of a nice little side effect, then I guess they can't complain too much. Sure.
Well, that is going to bring to a close our Super Tuesday Super Review. So
it was very super.
It was super. It was indeed. It was great to have you guys. Please tell everyone out there about what is going on in the world of Poisonrana.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we love talking about wrestling. We go live Tuesday nights. Maybe we'll do this again one Tuesday night. This is our night. This is usually when we're wrapping up. We do cover NXT every Tuesday on upNXT on this post wrestling feed. And we do other shows. Sundays, we go live around 2 p.m. over on Poisonrana on YouTube. And the audio goes up later that day. And we'll chat about NXT, I'm sure, a bit more and whatever happens in main roster stuff, AEW stuff. We cover it all. And it's spooky season. So, we're getting our scares on with our movie reviews, including Halloween 6 coming out later this month and lots of fun stuff. We do lots of wrestling reviews, movie reviews, everything under the sun. So yeah,
follow Poisonrana, and we've got a debut this Friday on the Poisonrana free feed. Martin Bushby, Dickie Bird, and Brandon from New Jersey. Eagles don't hunt flies. It's their debut episode talking about the whole career of Jon Moxley, and they're starting with the Jon Moxley-Nick Gage feud. So can't wait for you all to listen to that one.
Yeah, hit us up, Poisonrana.ca, for all the links of everything that we do. But it was super fun to chat with you two. We haven't done a show, the four of us, in a long time, and you are our buddies. So I know it sounded a bit hectic, and it kind of was, but it was nice to chat with you, fine gentlemen.
I love chatting with you, and the next show we do, we're going to do it all in person.
Sounds good.
All right. That's a nice little tease there. Yeah, I like it. But make sure your demon of a daughter is nowhere to be around, John.
Okay.
What's that? What does that mean?
I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure Braden will explain it to me in a text. That is it for us, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Me and Brandon Thurston are live at 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to hear the ratings reaction, what everyone is out to hear, that is going to be happening on Wednesday on the Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics feed. So that is it for us. Thank you for tuning in to Super Tuesday Super Review. Goodbye.